Welcome back to Autism Live. We're here on this special edition of the show with our wonderful guest, Joanne Lara from Autism Works Now. She's got a new book out. We just love this. It just came out this week, Teaching Pre-Employment Skills to 14 to 17-year-olds. But we promised that we were going to talk about this weekend. You put together a group of people to go to an event right now here in Los Angeles, the national touring company of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is visiting at the Amundsen Theater, and we really want to encourage you, if you're in the Los Angeles area, to get to it.
It's fantastic.
Run, don't walk, get to it. And if you're not in the Los Angeles area, look to see when it's coming to your neighborhood, because it's playing in different places all over the country. And we were there with a large group of people
From Autism Works Now family.
And the autism community and autism community adjacent, let's say that.
Yes,
people
that's
who
good. That's right. That's
people who all have a love for this community. And afterwards, you had arranged so wonderfully, thank you so much, for there to be a little bit of a talk back with our group and with members of the cast.
Q&A, yeah.
And it was, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah,
it was really,
so good, wasn't it?
It was really amazing. We've been treated to go to a lot of things in our life with our son, and I feel so grateful, grateful for a lot of different reasons. Grateful because my son is a good theater goer. He's my kid, so he couldn't be anything else.
That's right.
I used to teach college theater, and I would teach the big 101 class, The Enjoyment of Theater, for all the sorority and fraternity, and I it was serious business.
You will love theater.
Oh, I made sure that they did before they left, and they understood how to appreciate good theater and be a good audience member. So there was no way I was going to have a kid, spectrum or not. We take him to the theater, and I guess that's one of the things I want to start by saying is take your kids to the theater and don't wait.
He loved it.
Oh,
well, they all did. All the kids
everybody
loved it.
did. And can I just say too that there were people of all abilities that were there and all appreciated and love it. I wish that the whole theater community understood that people on the autism spectrum can go and be great audience members, and that it isn't a skill level ability. Everybody is capable of doing that within reason on certain days and certain things.
I think the beauty of that show is that for our kids is that they're singing their song.
Oh,
and they really get it.
Yeah.
They really get it.
The word autism is never said in the show, is it?
No.
I don't recall it being said. And I had read the book years ago.
No, one time the teacher, I think the father and the administrator and the teacher talk about, because she's the teacher in a special day class in London.
But I don't recall the word autism being said.
Okay, maybe not.
I know when I read the book, there was a big controversy. Jen was in second grade when I read the book, and there was a big discussion about the fact that they didn't actually say in the book what the diagnosis was, but that everybody, it's clear that it's autism, and it's all told from the point of view of a teenager who is, for all intents and purposes, on the spectrum, but it's told in a really specific theatrical way. As I said, I read the book, and most of the book was inside this young man's head.
That's right.
And
it's interior monologue.
Exactly. And you get to spend, it's everybody I know reads it within a 24-hour period, because you just can't put it down. It's a mystery. And from the inside of his head, there's a pretty graphic event that the book starts off with, and that the play starts off with, that a dog has been murdered.
Yes.
And he is on a mission that he is going to figure out who did this and how and what happens as a result of that. But it really takes him on a journey mentally and physically. But the way that they chose to tell this story, and we've talked about this before on the show, and we've been talking about it I just hadn't seen it.
Right.
And the set is a character in the show. The set is an amazing, and I believe it won the Tony Award for Best Set Design.
And also the boy won for Best Actor.
And so deserved, because physically for this cast,
amazing.
It is
amazing.
It's stunning. It's really, really stunning, and it's beautiful. I mean, there are parts of it where you feel like you're so caught up in it, you don't think about it till later, but it's a ballet. There are some things that I'm still processing days later that it's amazing. And we're hopeful. We've asked to do interviews, and we're hopeful that they'll have time while they're here in Los Angeles to do some interviews. Because
we saw Benjamin Wheelwright.
Oh, can we talk about him for a minute?
Oh, and he was incredible.
The show is so physically demanding that it requires, nobody could do 8 performances a week. And so they have 2 different people. It's not an understudy situation at all. But they have 2 different people who play the role. I'm going to sneeze. I'm so emotional, I'm going to sneeze. But in any case, talk about Benjamin for a second, Joanne.
Well, so Benjamin
Excuse me.
is Canadian. Number one, which I thought was very. We found all this out when we went for the Q&A after the show. We got to meet the cast, the mother, the teacher, the policeman who played all the policeman's roles,
ensemble roles,
and the star of the show, Christopher.
Yes.
And he's Canadian. He's young.
Yes.
24, I think.
Maybe.
He said they'd put the show together in New York, I believe he said.
Yes.
So he had done quite a bit of his own research, because that was one of the questions from one of the families. How much research did you do, and what did that look like to play the character? Because he's neurotypical. And it's, again, like you say, so physically demanding. I said to him, you must be a ballet dancer or a dancer. And he said, no, they actually didn't want that, because they didn't want that kind of stylized technique. But he's incredible. He continues to move. It's his show.
Yeah.
He has all the lines. He has all the information. But the ensemble work is so incredible, because it has to be perfect.
Well, and the trust
with the
level.
set.
Yes.
With the set.
And the trust level for the things that they do. They call it the lift team, because there are so many times when they are lifting.
They are moving him around on stage.
Yes. And I know I don't want to spoil it for somebody going to it, but they're able to take the things that are happening in his brain and project it out onto the screen, and have him be able to move through this other character that's the screen by lifting him and carrying him and swirling him. It's not like nothing you've ever seen before.
My favorite scene is the mother at the beach, where they do time and place. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the boy is at downstage, I think, right, and the mother is center upstage.
Yeah.
And they're having a conversation in the past.
Yes.
It's a brilliant scene.
It really is amazing. The direction of it is really incredible. It's great storytelling, and it just so happens that the story is one that, as you said, they're singing our kids' song. And there is a way that you connect with it that you might not have before. And I had said to Jem beforehand, now, I didn't want to spoil anything, but I like to prepare him, you know? Right. And I say, okay, so this is, what the basic story is, and there's going to be this thing at the beginning. And of course, you walk in, and the dog is on the stage with the pitchfork through it, but that's good, because it gave us all time to accept that, and then wasn't a shocking thing, and then it's gone from the start, it's gone. But everybody came in and it was like, oh, and outside of the play you got to accept that and deal with it. And I had said I always say to Jem, now this is a story about somebody who has autism, but I always say to him, but it's not your kind of autism. I always do, regardless, because that allows him to sit and take in whatever it is. And then afterwards, sometimes he'll say to me, yeah, that is a little bit my kind of autism, Mom. And I get to hear it that way. Yeah. And what was fascinating to me was when we were doing the discussion afterwards, and one of the questions that Ben asked of our kids, he said, did you feel like what we were showing on the screen and all of that, did you feel like it was representative, true to you of your experience? Right. And my kid was like, yes, absolutely, yes. He did. And I found that interesting, because as a parent, all I've ever said is, if I could just crawl in through his ear and take a tour of his brain and see what he sees, what wouldn't I give, Joanne? What wouldn't I give? And the little moments in time, now that he is verbal enough, where he will, say something and I get a glimpse of what he sees.
Right.
Those are the most valuable moments in my life. So to see him going, yes, and we've had a couple of conversations since then. He's very private about those kinds of things and doesn't, although he knows it really jazzes me. So we've had a little bit of conversation about it, but he loved it.
He did love it.
He just loved it.
I think all the kids did.
And I will say this too, I called Nancy afterwards because the physicality that Ben brought to it, not the character and what the character can and can't do, but the physicality that he brought to it, to me, was very much Nancy's son Wyatt.
Yeah,
and
you said that.
And it broke my heart in 68 different ways during the show, because you just want so badly to hug this character. And one of the
But he can't be touched.
And this is one of the things for this young man, is that he's touch, and that becomes a very big deal with the parents about. We see time and time again that the parents want to touch, but there are ground rules.
That's right.
And that must be observed with this young man. But I felt it. I wanted to get up. And I, I've seen a fair amount of theater in my life. That's what my master's degree is in, and I worked in Broadway theater. I will tell you, I think this is fine, beautiful, rich, fantastic, not to be missed theater.
That's right. For me, it was.
Really, really good. And there have been a few times in my life where I've been in an audience where, we talk about the willing suspension of disbelief, that you forget that you're in a theater. Big high ceiling with all these people, you forget that you're there, right? And there just have been I can count on one hand the number of times I've been there where the audience starts shouting at the stage because they are so in the moment that they lose track of where they are. Yeah. And that happened on Sunday's performance. People started yelling, and what you have to do on stage to get people to that point
is amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah. And they got a standing ovation, and I'm sure they do every single performance. It was certainly deserved. It wasn't like anybody had to think about it. Everybody immediately
stood up.
It's a treat. Can we say that? It's a treat for your soul and your senses.
And it's the second time I saw it. So,
because you saw it in London, right?
I saw it in London, and then in 2016. I appreciated some things this time again around that I wanted to say. One, at the very beginning, they set up that he has projects.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's like every one of our kids. They are so project oriented. And I have an older individual who's in our Autism Works Now program. Yeah. He's in his late 40s. And his life is about projects. And he comes and he speaks about the projects in the sessions on Thursdays. Well, this is the project he's doing now, and this is the project he's doing, he intends to do. I'm going to do next week. And I love that.
Yeah.
It really, it's something that, it's a real thread.
Yes.
With all of our kids, that project piece. And then the whole touch piece was bigger for me this time. And I did the show Touch with Kiefer Sutherland, and his that character of that young boy was also couldn't be touched. But it's about the parietal lobe. It brings in the lobes and why can't our kids be touched? It's that parietal lobe in the brain that interprets touch on a much more magnified level.
Yeah.
And it made me appreciate the writing of the book again, because this book was written in probably 2000, maybe 99. It was published in 2003, I believe, or 2. So it's way before we were really isolating the lobes of the brain and what part they played in autism. And I went back in my mind and I thought, wow, it's quite brilliant the way that he wrote it, because he never said, there's a part of my brain that doesn't allow me to be touched. And that touch was a through line for the play. Yeah.
It's just amazing. I really, if you get an opportunity to see it,
you should.
You really need to. I can't say that enough. You really need to go
and take
and
your
see
children.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't leave them at home. Take them.
Absolutely. So check it out. Right now it's playing at the Amundsen Theater, and it's playing into the, is it the
September
9th?
10th.
Okay, the
I
10th
think
of September.
the 9th or 10th.
And then they will be moving. They're continuing to go places, and there is a production that's getting ready to be done in Ohio
You
and
said
in
that, yeah.
Syracuse. That for the first time, a person who's on the autism spectrum will be playing the role of Christopher. We've asked to have
Love that.
Mickey, the actor, be on the show, and we're waiting to hear back
I love that.
if we can do that before he needs to leave for rehearsals.